Okay with everyone? Okay, so thank you very much for coming along to today's knowledge share. We have Henrique Savelsberg and Brian Loeb who are going to talk to us about what about cannabis. And I will just briefly mention our sponsors for today. So this knowledge share has been generously sponsored by Research Clever, a field and tab agency helping with consumer and B2B target audiences in 130 markets. Their values focus on respondent quality, agile communication, one point of contact on each project management expertise, and commitment to the proposals backed by their guarantees. Without further ado, thank you very much to Research Clever, and I'll hand over to Henrique and Brian.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining this knowledge share session. Let me first start with opening the presentation. So I'm Henrique. I'm a Dutch native, and together with Brian Loeb, also ICG member, we have conducted this study. What do you think about cannabis? A deep dive into feelings and opinions of consumers from the Netherlands, Spain, and Thailand. We did this study together with a local Thai researcher, Nana, I work a lot with. As I said, yeah, I'm Henrique. I'm Dutch native, and my focus is on international qualitative research, mainly focus Europe, and specifically Netherlands, Belgium, and Southeast Asia region, and strategic market research. And Brian, you can introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Brian Loeb. I'm originally from the US, but I've lived in Spain for nearly 25 years, and I have over 30 years of research experience across both the English and the Spanish-speaking worlds.
So I'll first give the word to Brian that will explain about the global cannabis market.
Yeah, it was just really 10 years ago, if you can think back. The cannabis was pretty much illegal almost everywhere, and it was considered a narcotic. For those of you who remember the 80s, it was the war on drugs. But in the last 10 years, the growth has been exponential. We've seen products move from illegal sales to legal sales, and then also the legality has opened up all sorts of different applications, from skin cream to food and beverage, vaping products, and even pet food. And this growth is projected to continue with some projections to reach from 58 to 82 billion globally, US dollars, in the next 3 to 4 years. And if you look at the graph on the right, in about 10 years, it's projected potentially to reach 247 billion. So obviously, with all this growth, there's lots of opportunities opening up for people like us, market researchers and strategists.
To give a bit further background, so our scope was on Netherlands, Spain, and Thailand. Netherlands has a cannabis toleration policy since 1976, which means consumers can possess up to 5 grams of marijuana or maximum 5 cannabis plants, and coffee shops can sell small quantities of soft drugs without being prosecuted. Currently, the Dutch government, they have a experiment-controlled cannabis supply chain, and this experiment is there will be 10 cannabis growers will be selected, and these cannabis growers are supplying to 10 municipalities. This is in order to monitor the quality of cannabis and also the supply of cannabis to coffee shops, which is at the moment is still illegal.
And in Spain, back in 2015, the use in private and in cannabis smoking clubs was decriminalized but not made fully legal. So there's a bit of a legal vacuum there. But its use in public, it's still subject to penalties. Medicinal use is highly restricted. And while CBD is legal, there's a series of restrictions which include not creating products for internal consumption, which means we don't have those CBD gummies here in Spain.
In Thailand, the cannabis market was only decriminalized in June 2022. Before, cannabis was highly illegal. If you would just have a small quantity of cannabis, this would mostly lead to imprisonment. But then suddenly in June 2022, cannabis was decriminalized. But for now, policy and rules are not clear set. And initially it was focused on medicinal cannabis, but a lot of uncontrolled sales for recreational use takes place now. And yeah, there are still a lot of changes going on. In the beginning of this year, there was again a discussion of putting cannabis back on the narcotics list. Then in August this year, the prime minister was removed and another prime minister was put in place. And the new prime minister has now a latest draft bill. And in this draft bill, cannabis is not being reclassified as narcotic, and there's no also explicit clause that recreational use is outlawed. So the methodology for our research, we first started with a bit of desk research to get to know the market. Then we did some store observations, meaning visiting some dispensaries, some pharmacies, to get to know the cannabis and market better. The number of interviews, I already conducted this study last year together with Nana, the local Thai researcher. I then looked at Netherlands and Thailand only, and I presented that at London Quirk. And then this year, we also included Spain, and Brian Loeb conducted the research in Spain. And then we collaborated with Ross Caffery from Research Clever, that is also attending today's presentation. And he managed the online survey. And the online survey consisted of 100 responses we collected per market, for all three markets, 100. And Research Clever had access to a global panel networks through API integration, whereby more than 100 panels were used to collect the answers. For the interviews, the online interviews, qualitative research that we conducted, we recruited the respondents mostly through our own network and also through social media. For example, I put some posts on specific social media groups on natural medicine and cannabidiol to get more feedback from specific people that can say a bit more about cannabidiol. We recruited those that have heard of cannabis, also preferably of cannabidiol, but not necessarily usage of cannabis. And then we conducted also some B2B interviews, such as the Drugs Research Institute, cannabis retailer, cannabis seed trader, some dispensary manager, some pharmacies, health stores, and in Spain, a smoking club owner. Then for the online survey, as you see here, we conducted that in August this year, and there was an equal split of gender between male and female. We targeted the online survey to 16 years and above, and there was a good share of the different age categories. And then the data was reweighted also by the quota, the age quota per country. And then, as you can see on the right, 60% of our respondents, they have a family. And yeah, well, cannabis, if I say Netherlands and cannabis, then most of you will first of all think of coffee shops. Here you see some images of coffee shops in the main cities, Amsterdam and Rotterdam. But cannabis is more. Cannabis is also cannabidiol. Here you see some images of cannabidiol, CBD. And CBD is sold through Cannabis Seed Bank, specialist health stores, and mainstream drug stores in the Netherlands. These are the, like you have in the UK, the Boots, these type of chains. They have cannabidiol products since more than a decade. Then some pharmacies in the Netherlands sell this, smart shops, and then you have online cannabidiol retailers.
So in Spain, the big thing with THC products has been the advent of marijuana smoking clubs, and which exist kind of in a legal vacuum where they're not explicitly legal, but they are allowed to register and pay taxes and things like that. And they're very discreet. If you're outside of one, you won't even notice that there's nothing on the storefront or even the door to know that there's a smoking club inside. But you go inside and yeah, they're very nicely decorated, very relaxed atmosphere. They're for members only, and supposedly you are supposed to only get an invitation by being recommended by a current member. Though if you do go online on some of these websites, you can click on a button to request your invitation just one click away. And then it's a totally different story with the CBD products, which are totally legal. And there's storefronts. I live in a center of Madrid. There's literally on every block 2 or 3 CBD stores. And they sell all sorts of products. You can see there's some alcohol products. There's lots of cosmetics. And they're pretty well, there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of activity and always people gathering in them and buying things. And then there's also the online aspect. So on the left, we have an online regular pharmacy, but if you search for CBD, you can get 1,410 results for different kinds of products containing CBD. And on the right, you also have the more cáñamo cannabis focused websites that sell specifically cannabis type products and with very much of a kind of bio and ecological bent to them.
So here you see an image. These are dispensaries of cannabis in Bangkok. You see it's a lot positioned on or advertised on medical marijuana. And here you see some more images. On the top row, you see the third photo is I took that last year. That's a QR code that you can just scan and buy cannabis. And next to it, you see a social media advert that I saw last year about cannabis sales in Thailand. But now the regulation is much stricter. You don't see these posts now anymore. The regulation on advertising of cannabis is now much stricter in Thailand. And in the second row, you see there Dr. CBD Pet, which is cannabidiol products for pets. And then on the right next to it, you see there, this is basically a food outlet. And I put the translation of the Thai language below there. This food outlet is cannabis free. You see now more and more in Bangkok, you see different outlets, such as this food outlet, that they say they don't want cannabis to be consumed there. To give you a bit better understanding of the cannabis situation in Thailand, I made this video last year, and I would like to play that to show that to you.
For you and me and everyone now. No more elections out. We gotta be proud. Marijuana, legalize marijuana, legalize marijuana. and everyone now. No more elections out. We gotta be proud. Marijuana, legalize. Marijuana, legalize.
So yeah, with the online interviews or the qualitative interviews that we conducted, the first thing we asked respondents is, what do you know about cannabis in your market? We asked them about the perception and the appropriate regulations. For the Netherlands, the respondents, they said most of all, they said, yeah, cannabis is tolerated in the Netherlands and cannabis can be used for recreational or medical usage. A lady in the age category 26 to 40 years old also commented to me, my parents were from the generation that all drugs are bad. I'm from the generation that everyone from my age has smoked a joint or has come in contact with it. A few of the people that I interviewed know about the experiment-controlled cannabis supply chain, and several of the respondents also mentioned the quite dubious regulations of cannabis in the Netherlands, that cannabis supply to the coffee shops is illegal, but its sale from the coffee shops is tolerated. And then also a few mentioned well, that cannabis, alcohol, and tobacco, shouldn't they go together in the same path, regulatory path framework?
And in Spain, the CBD is clearly understood to be legal. As you saw before, there's open storefronts. But on the other hand, yeah, THC generates a lot of confusion. You saw the smoking shops, but there's still laws prohibiting possession and sale of marijuana. But on the other hand, these smoking clubs are allowed to operate as registered associations. So as one woman commented, it's I know that it legally cannot be transported or cultivated or consumed or anything, but there are smoking clubs, and I don't understand under what law they are allowed to exist. And in general, especially from THC smokers, you get a lot of impressions about it. You have to avoid public consumption and possession to avoid fines. And this one man felt it was like a trap, and it's kept unclear on purpose so that they can generate money from fines.
In Thailand, what really comes to front is that they all say the cannabis regulation is not clear. There's not much information about the products and the regulation of what is allowed or not. They know cannabis is used for recreation and medical usage. Several mentioned cannabis is trendy, as it was only decriminalized in 2022, so it's quite new. Several people want to try it. But this trendiness is already slowing down now a bit in 2024. Then, yeah, CBD cannabis is more restricted now, the promotion and on social media. A cannabis CBD retailer mentioned to us on social media, it is restricted to promote CBD. For example, for TikTok, if you just mention CBD or cannabis, your entire account gets blocked. We promote mostly through direct events where we are present to our target audience. Then, yeah, the respondents to the qualitative interviews also mentioned, several of them suggested stricter regulations and police enforcement on following up of the cannabis regulation. It is mentioned more regulation on driving and cannabis usage, or maybe come with smoking clubs that allow cannabis usage vary by the weight, gender, or age of users, or not allowed to have cannabis consumed in public spaces. Growers register with government and can grow in dedicated areas monitored by government. Regulation on maximum cannabis content in products, warning on product like with cigarettes, and similar to alcohol and cigarette legislation with ID check and stores certified by government. So we then also asked them, what would you see as the most appropriate channels to inform about cannabis news and regulations? Well, the respondents in the Netherlands, they are more or less aligned. they say that it should be communicated through the NOS, which is a Dutch Broadcasting Foundation, or national newspapers, whether it's offline or online. Also, nu.nl, news website is mentioned, and the source should be the Dutch government. Also was mentioned RIVM, which is the National Institute for Public Health and the Environment, an independent agency of the Ministry of Health, Welfare and Sport, to be a source for news and regulations. Also, there's here a respondent mentioned next to the Dutch government, the GGZ, the Dutch Association of Mental Health and Addiction Care, or for medical cannabis, that the information would go through the hospital or pharmacists. Then is also mentioned coffee shop holders to play a role, to give more information and have leaflets in the coffee shops for its users, which is already often done. And then the younger respondents specifically mentioned to use social media, specifically TikTok and Instagram, to inform 16+ age category. But in general, in Netherlands, there's not much publicity on drugs, not much communication on the cannabis topic, simply because it's not allowed and not everyone is concerned, neither interested. So, for example, at schools in the Netherlands, it's only at some schools, they decide that at parents' meetings, that then is told to the parents, give them some further information on cannabis and its regulations. But it's really up to the school to decide if they do this or not. And then you have the Bureau Medicinal Cannabis, which is run by the Dutch government. And the Bureau Medicinal Cannabis, they give information on cannabidiol and its regulation. And they also supply cannabidiol for medical purpose and for scientific purpose to hospitals and pharmacies.
So in Spain, we have a lot of disparate opinions. On the one hand, there are a few that agree kind of with the Dutch approach that it should be an official government media, like any other health issue, should communicate about it, as we see in the first point there. However, younger generations would prefer digital sources such as social media, apps and websites, though they do recognize that these might be biased, depending on the editorial slant of that media outlet. And finally, just others prefer the word-of-mouth approach, but preferably from credible sources. So this one young man said, well, I'd like to find out from a close person, a friend, somebody who has a lot of experience and can really know the reality of it.
In Thailand, the opinion of through what channels it should be communicated is fairly disparate, but they are more aligned on sources. So social media is mentioned, especially with Gen Z and Line. Line is like the WhatsApp that is used a lot in Asia, specifically also in Thailand for older age groups. Then also respondent mentioned cannabis retailers to play a role in to inform about cannabis news and regulations. As here, a lady in the age category 41 to 50 years old said, if I want to know how to use it, I may go to a seller who lives nearby my house. If I want to know more about the regulation, I would go to another vendor who sells bigger volumes and can tell me about the regulation. But most respondents that I interviewed, they agree on the source, which should be the Thai national government, a trustworthy or official authority, the Ministry of Health, a scholar or a doctor. Also, one respondent mentioned to the Thai researcher a local authority, maybe that can really access anyone, especially even in the rural areas, whereby in person somebody would go and explain about the regulations. We asked them about what is your perception on cannabis usage and its appropriate regulations. Well, there are three camps. In the Netherlands, there are three camps. Those that have a negative perception about cannabis, they say, well, cannabis is a type of drugs. Why would you use that? those that have a positive and a negative perception at the same time. As here, a male respondent, 50 plus years age category, said the Dutch government should explain the drawbacks of possible addiction, but also explain its positive side to reduce pain, beneficial for Parkinson patients, mind-blowing, which can be seen as therapeutical. And also weed and CBD can be good, but its usage needs to be monitored, and CBD prescribed and monitored by professional authorities, such as a GP or a psychiatrist.
And in Spain, it's characterized by a high degree of tolerance overall. The only really negative slant that I got was from one young lady who said, I think it's illegal to smoke a joint on the street, but people do it anyway. She said that somewhat disparagingly. But mostly you either have a positive or positive and negative, such as this one, that they're in favor of legalizing possession and recreational use, as they have done in Germany, and that these measures turn sellers into legal companies. But on the other hand, a study would have to be done to allow consumption without disturbing children, pregnant women, and other possible victims.
In Thailand, there are also the 3 camps. Those that have a negative perception. Here, a respondent said that is aware of the medical benefit, but it would be very hard to control, and that cannabis may cause social damage, which is very hard to correct. Those that have a positive and negative perception, appropriate usage is important, educate how to use it, how much, and we need to have appropriate regulation. And here also a respondent said we need regulations similar to tobacco and alcohol drinks, such as minimum age, specific spaces for usage, and we need effective enforcement by police to really implement the law. And then we had the positive perception. In the Netherlands, one respondent said, cannabis is calming and it's more friendly and a better way to become calm than strong painkillers such as morphine. And another respondent said the positive about cannabis, specifically the natural cannabis, because there are many manipulated varieties and they are too strong, and said that pesticides are used for them.
In Spain, the positive views were divided into 2 camps, the tax generation angle. So it should be treated like tobacco and alcohol. So you generate taxes and also while removing the stigma. And then also the one of promoting individual freedoms, that it's something within the freedom of the individual, and that the law should be completely repealed because it is based on creating more fear and only helps the dealer that sells it illegally.
In Thailand, those that have a positive perception, they mentioned the business opportunity, as Thailand suffered a lot from the COVID-19 pandemic, because tourism is the key industry, and then cannabis was decriminalized. So they see it really as a business opportunity, especially foreigners that would be interested in this, but also the multi-purpose usage of cannabis, that it can be used for food, and medical, and to consume it. Even a lady that was interviewed, she mentioned we can use cannabis in making soup. I saw that in my Facebook feed. The online survey that we conducted. The first question that we asked in the online survey is, how do you feel about cannabis sales in your country? As you can see in this chart, more than a third, 35% in both Spain and Thailand are worried about its health risks. And a quarter, 24% in Spain, 25% in Thailand feels worried, as it is not clear of what is allowed or not. These percentages are significantly lower in this arts category in the Netherlands. But in the Netherlands, 31%, which is higher than the 23% in Spain and Thailand, said, I don't have no feelings, as it doesn't interest or concern me or my surroundings. Then the second question we asked in the online survey is, what do you think about cannabis regulations in your country? And the respondents across all three markets are divided about cannabis regulations. A few of them comment it's all clear and nothing should be changed, which is the top one in this chart. But 41%, which you can see at the bottom, 41% of Thai consumers answer that cannabis regulations are unclear and its regulations should be stricter and also communicated and controlled better of what is allowed or not. Then in the interviews, we asked them about THC, weed, and cannabidiol, CBD, their awareness. In the Netherlands, the majority of the consumers I interviewed have little knowledge about CBD, cannabidiol, and THC. Several mentioned weed, cannabis, cannabidiol. Is that not all the same? Also, a hospice worker and former nurse in the cancer unit of the hospital commented to me, CBD is not known by me and my colleagues. The medical world is very conservative, he said to me. And then cannabis edibles are seen as having a stronger effect, but also with that more risky and can be misleading for children. Those that know and have used cannabidiol, CBD, said to me, I got referred to it by a medical professional. CBD is natural, it's a supplement, and THC makes you high. CBD doesn't do that. And CBD is to reduce pain, anxiety, make you calmer and sleep better. One respondent said, I visited a regular drugstore and I saw CBD on the shelf and a product to improve sleep and I bought it.
So strangely enough, in Spain, the awareness is pretty high between CBD and THC, and it is fairly well understood the difference, where CBD is known to be the part that does not cause intoxication, and that is argued to have several health benefits and is perfectly legal. On the other hand, THC, it's either restricted or tolerated within illegal vacuums. And we did get some comments from THC smokers who, what's the point of CBD? One said that if it doesn't get me high, for me, it's worthless.
In Thailand, the majority of the consumers have not heard of the term cannabidiol, CBD, and THC. They also say weed, cannabis, cannabidiol, is it not all the same? Well, as I explained before, in general, there's very little communication on what cannabis is, and so there's very little awareness. And those that know about THC and CBD said, one that was interviewed said the CBD products are common, you can see them everywhere, effect is relaxation, while THC is also an element of cannabis, but it can provide a different effect, makes the heartbeat stronger. And another respondent said, THC reminds me of an addictive drug. Then in the online survey, we asked them, have you heard about cannabidiol CBD products? Here you see the answers. And yeah, if we look across the three markets, more than 2 out of 5, 41%, have never heard of CBD. This was highest in Thailand, 52%, and 35% in Netherlands and Spain. Close to 2 out of 5, 38%, have heard of CBD, but no idea where you could buy this. If I think of Netherlands, that's very surprising, I think. As I explained earlier, that like CBD has been available for more than a decade in the major drugstores in the Netherlands, and then there's such a high percentage that say they have never heard of CBD or have no idea where you could buy these. So they simply overlook that when they go to a regular drugstore. So we asked in the qualitative interviews, we asked them also, what is your perception about CBD? As I said, just some have some knowledge on CBD of that I interviewed, and they commented, well, there are many varieties of CBD. The highest quality comes from the pharmacies. CBD is associated with a calming effect, reduce stress, natural, medicinal cannabis. It can have possible mental dependence, and that could be controlled more via prescription. mentioned a respondent. And also a few mentioned that the interest for CBD, as I said, has been around for over a decade in the Netherlands, seems to decrease because some people, they buy it and it doesn't really work. And then they chose not to use it again. And that is more these the different in quality of CBD from the regular drugstores, or if you have more the official CBD where the quality is strictly audited, that is provided by some health stores or a few pharmacies. CBD is preventive. It activates your body to decrease symptoms, similar to acupuncture or hypnosis, mentioned the respondent. And then also was mentioned by a few respondents that CBD doesn't have an attractive taste.
And
Right.
in Spain, we had the one comment about it being potentially a gateway drug before moving on to THC products. But mostly people worry about the flower format being confused with marijuana. It looks just the same. And so if police search you, they'll think it's marijuana. They'll issue you a fine. And only after it's analyzed, they might nullify the fine, but you still end up having to go through a lot of hassle anyway. And then on the other hand, there's a few that are aware of its medicinal benefits. For example, it's used with palliative patients and also with those with cancer and autism.
In Thailand, as I said, well, very few know about CBD, used or not, and comment it can reduce stress. It's something common, anyone can try, it's not harmful, and there are some good products that work and they can really help. Then we asked in the survey also, what is your perception of what cannabidiol products are for? And here you see the list of the different answer categories that they could select. I'm just going to present the top 5 of what was mostly selected. So sleep better, 48%, and relieve pain, muscle stiffness, also 48%, was more frequently selected in the Netherlands than in Spain and Thailand. Reduce anxiety and depression, 45% was most mentioned of all in Thailand. And alleviate the impact of certain treatments, for example, chemotherapy, with 44% was mentioned most of all by the Spain respondents. Then the last question we asked in the online survey is, what is your attitudes towards CBD being legal? So Netherlands is more positive towards CBD being legal. 28% said it's great that it's legal. In Spain has the largest share of worried about health risks. The 20% selected this answer, and no opinions, feelings, as it doesn't interest or concern them, 19%. Thailand has the largest share of that can understand that CBD can help with certain health problems. 29% selected this answer, but are also more worried about health risks and not clear of what is allowed or not. 22% selected that answer. So those that used CBD in the past 12 months, we asked them, what did you use it for and what do you think about CBD? Well, in the Netherlands, they said CBD is to sleep better, CBD cream to decrease pain. And also was mentioned again that they think that CBD sales face a possible decrease because of the persons that use it and it doesn't work. And also there's limited scientific backup to prove that CBD works and its benefits. And the negativity of CBD as linking it to cannabis and drugs instead of linking it being a medicine, a supplement. Then is also mentioned the CBD suitability for pets, to have maybe that has more potential, several commented. For example, if a pet is stressed or afraid of fireworks, then CBD could be a good solution.
So in Spain, most of the people who have used CBD used it, the cream And so we have one that kind of reflects a general opinion that I use CBD cream that I thought was fantastic. I had muscle pain that I don't have anymore. Another kind of saw it as a replacement for THC smoking. So I used to smoke weed with THC, but I haven't for 13 years. Now I smoke CBD. It's pleasant without feeling dizzy. And I use the CBD massage creams, and they are as relaxing as they claim to be.
In Thailand, the feedback varies between those used. Here, you see the answer of a female respondent said, I use it for muscle relaxation, but it didn't feel any difference. And another respondent said, I use CBD oil for insomnia and migraine treatment, and it worked quite well for me. I use it as it is more traditional, and I believe that it would cause less side effect than medicine in the long term. Then we also asked about THC, those that used it. What did you use it for, and what did you think? Respondent in the Netherlands said to me, sometimes I feel a bit groggy the next day when I've taken too much CBD oil with THC the night before, but in general, I sleep perfect with it.
So yeah, THC, smokers in Spain, they kind of rested importance from it being, a super problematic product. The second quote kind of just says it's a plant like any other, but it does have numerous health benefits, both medicinal, recreational, and creative. And for a very small minority, it's become a bit of a hobby. So he's grown for 35 years. He smokes mostly, but he also makes homemade cookies and brownies, and also has experimented with gummies and bread.
In Thailand, respondents said it can be fun smoking with friends. This is also a bit linked again with that I said in the beginning of cannabis being trendy. It's new, so some want to try that. And also another respondent said, no opinion as long as it doesn't disturb others. It's a personal right to decide whether to use THC as long as it doesn't disturb other people. I have no particular opinion about it. Then as a last question, we asked them your knowledge about cannabis. Would you share that with others, your experience? In the Netherlands, it really came to the front. It's quite private, and there's still people don't feel it quite private to share anything about it. A lady of 50 plus that I interviewed said, I recommended some people about CBD oil that knew about my anxiety situation. It then appeared that many of them knew about CBD oil already. And then a male 50 plus said, I recommend those that have chemotherapy to use good CBD oil that can help to reduce side effects. And when I spoke with a lady in the age category 26-40, she said for young people, a TikTok video and influencers that should make a video about that. Maybe at schools, some further information with explanation how to use it in a safe way. Maybe someone that knows a lot about the topic or a former heavy user that explains about the risk. But anyway, young people use, many have tried it and they know about cannabis already. But several respondents I spoke with, they say really the role of parents to discuss with children, to explain about cannabis, about the product and its risks.
So in Spain, it's also taboo. It's too controversial to really speak about outside of one's own circle of confidence. One young lady who doesn't use it says, I don't consume it, but I won't post anything about it online because my family could see it and think I'm an addict. And then there were a few who would like to feel more empowered to be able to educate their children and other young people about it. I know that my kids in school, they don't really hear about it. They get a little bit of, alcohol and tobacco and sex education, but nothing about cannabis. So he said, I would like to have more complete information so that tomorrow I can inform my daughter in a real way. I think it's extremely important to inform and educate children about cannabis and other drugs. Just by not mentioning them, they're not going to go away.
Mm-hmm. In Thailand, there are few respondents that used cannabis or have knowledge about it, that they share it with others. Again, this privacy link a bit, yeah, to share that. There are some, they say, I would share my bad experience with really close friends, so it would not happen to them. Then also respondent mentioned doctors should be the one who share this knowledge because they work directly with cannabis, or the role of teachers to explain to students what are the pros and cons of cannabis to avoid misuse. Cannabis retailer we interviewed said here in Thailand there's an industry association informing now, and there's strong interest to drive education to consumers. The industry association is called the Thai Cannabis Entrepreneur Association. For Brian will explain here this slide, next opportunities in market research.
Sure. Actually, well, since this is actually the final slide, and so it's bringing it back home to the opportunity that could be this whole market could present to us as researchers and strategists. On the left, we have the key aspects of cannabis markets, and on the right, the demand that those are generating. And so I'm not going to really voice it over. You can all kind of see it. Since we've gone over time, I did want to quickly leave some space for asking questions.
Yeah, these are our contact details. I'll stop sharing so we can see each other. Well, thanks very much for attending. Hope you find it interesting and useful for you. And you have questions? Oh, I don't hear you, Ina.
Sorry, I found it really interesting. I've been interviewing people in Sweden this week, where 10% of the population is on antidepressants, and I was just wondering, should they be hearing about this? But that's a bit of a joke, of course, although there could be a serious element to it. I was wondering about the type of client you had. Were they more in the medical field? Were they regulatory? Or
No,
were they...
there was no client. This was a self-funded study.
Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like certain brands could benefit from knowing about this and realizing the broader context in which their product is being used.
Yeah, we did it out of interest, and thinking that going forward there will be brands moving into this. There'll be a lot more interest in doing some more formal research, and so just kind of generating a background for ourselves and being able to talk knowledgeably about the subject.
Yeah, I spoke with a few CBD brands, a brand manager of CBD products in the Netherlands as part of the research. Yeah,
and I was also wondering, in your questionnaire, I noticed that you didn't you asked about the negatives of was it CBD or was it cannabis? I can't remember. And I was wondering, was it a conscious choice not to ask about the benefits?
Well, we asked one. They said it is great. Is one question.
Yeah, how do you feel about it being legal? And one of the options is it's great. And
okay,
and there's some negative ones. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay,
it would be helpful, especially in Europe, to have kind of like European wide regulation and legislation, because it really prevents from big serious brands to get into this. The fact that they have to navigate market by market, or even in Spain, municipality to municipality. So it helps. It keeps big investment, big branding, big marketing campaigns from really happening. So that would be really helpful for research for more European-wide legislation.
It was very interesting. I thought that in some markets, they think it's deliberate that the legislation is vague, that it allows loopholes. It's an interesting situation.
Yeah, that's definitely, you get a lot of that feeling in Spain, because it does seem like they're encouraging people to go to smoking clubs, but then, you know, they're trying to generate fines from finding people who walk out of smoking clubs.
I love that they're not technically legal, but they still get to pay tax.
Yeah.
Great. We are a few minutes over, but I don't know if anyone's got any other questions or comments before we wrap up.
I don't hear anything.
Is that's applause from Jeff, I think, not a not a hands up. All right. Well, in that case, then, if no one has any other questions, I'll say thank you so much to Henrique and Brian. That's been super interesting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for attending.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.